Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel. And we have Grumpy from Grumpy Acres Farm. Good to have you. And what we're going to be talking about today is three things. Grumpy and I have been exchanging emails and ideas and things like that. And, some information kind of like caught my attention. So I want to talk about mags. I want to talk about that $1.2 million hat. And then I want to talk a little bit about community. And like I said, today we've got Grumpy from Grumpy Acres. It's a great name, Grumpy. Uh, and this is the first time having him on the channel. So Grumpy, do me a favor. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where we can find you and those kind of things.
Well, LP, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Been watching you for a while, and I can't catch your lives because I'm usually doing stuff at work. But when I can, I'm always trying to be there.
Gotcha.
So, Marine veteran, 9.5 years. Worked for the DoD for a little while after that. Some things happened, and I had to walk away from the job, and we ended up basically bugging out in 2021, and ended up in Northeast Kansas. We've been homesteading for going on 12 years now. We had a place in Pleasant Hill, Missouri. Started out as a prepper in 2000 and went that entire route, and finally came to the conclusion that prepping was potentially a finite solution to an infinite problem. Because if things went south, eventually you're going to run out of stuff. So how do we address that? We became homesteaders, and I've kind of discerned over the last 5 or 6 years that homesteading is the ultimate expression of preparedness. A lot of preppers and a lot of homesteaders, they kind of clash. They bump heads because they run in different circles. But honestly, both groups are looking for the same thing. They are looking to be modernly self-sufficient and being able to take care of themselves whenever times get tough. But other than that, pretty simple. We've got our YouTube channel, Grumpy Acres Farm. You can go check us out there. We're using that as a platform to create an alternative income stream for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing that. I also post on Rumble, and I started posting stuff over on the Liberty Tree Fellowship, which is a small free speech type of community going on online.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and what I'll also do is I'm gonna also put the link to your YouTube channel down in the description of this video when we do post it.
Okay.
Okay, so that's awesome. That's often. I'm kind of attracted to the stuff that you're doing because I'm past the pew pew stuff. I can grow things kind of. I would love to have a homestead myself, but I kind of stick more to the Western type prepping. Um, and it, it's so I lean more towards the philosophical. I watched one of your videos. It was a couple, 2, 3 days ago, where you were talking. You were reading an article, I think, about just how we've given up rights and things like that. So I think we're definitely like-minded individuals. But I lean more towards like the philosophical. And one of the things I actually teach a leadership class. I'll be teaching it
Oh, awesome.
like I think it's like the first week of October during Prep Stock. But I teach a leadership class, and with the issue of mags always come into question. They always like, how do we set it up, things like that. And when we talked last time, you were like, I have some philosophical views on mags, and there's a possibility we could be doing this all very, very wrong.
Oh,
So I
absolutely.
really wanted to pick your brain on it, and there's a lot of people out there that are really interested in the mag concept. So I wanted to pick your brain and get your take on it. And so tell us your thoughts on it.
So yes, you are right. I think that people are pursuing mags in the wrong way, and they're doing it wrong. And before we go on, I can hear people yelling at the computers right now because they've set up a successful mag, and I just tipped over one of the sacred cows of preparedness. But let me explain. In this case, when I say wrong, that does not mean bad. That means that through my experience, there are some things that your traditional mag structure and mag concept completely misses, that I think over the past year and a half, my experiences have shown me that they are extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
And if and anybody that's built a successful mag, if I was going to point a finger at somebody who created the wrongness of it, I would blame James Wesley Rawls, the godfather of modern prepping.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason being is because by himself, he took prepping out of the realm of the Vietnam veteran living in the woods with PTSD and the pages of Soldier of Fortune magazine, and he made it somewhat mainstream. And he introduced it to a whole bunch of people that would have never thought about it before.
Mm-hmm.
And with his novel Patriots, he showed how mags are set up, and he showed how they would work and everything. And he did a fantastic job of it. And the two things that I think are missing out of the mag concept is voluntary governorship and sovereignty. And what I mean by that is the voluntary governorship. The first thing that people do with mags is they start setting up rules, and they have meetings about setting up rules for the mags and how they operate. And if you want to be in this mag, you have to follow these rules. Well, that's mandatory. That's mandatory governorship. You're going to submit to the group whether you want to or not, if you want to be involved in the group. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I think in an ad hoc situation, whenever you're setting up a mag on the fly, I think that's paramount. You have to have rules, and you have to have a leadership structure, because if not, everybody's going to be going their own different ways, and it's not going to work. And the reason why I say this is because in 2018, 2017, 2018, have you seen Life Done Free's channel? Have you seen Tag? Have you seen that channel?
Yeah. I've watched a few of his videos. Yeah, he's built a pretty substantial setup there. Go ahead.
So look at his house. We had a group discussion sitting on a concrete pad where his living room is right now, and that it was literally under construction. And we had a meeting with the group, and we were trying to work out how a mag would be working there, because the idea was, as a fallback position, everybody was gonna go there because he'd purchased the property, and we were all gonna use that as a bug out location. And my wife and I actually started building a cabin there, porta pad, and had it about halfway done. But that very first meeting, the only thing we could come up with was we need to have another meeting. That was literally after 4 hours. The only thing we could all come to agreement with. And it never went any further than that. Well, fast forward to 2020, and the coup rolled around, and all the craziness with that. And like I said, we bugged out. And the reason we had to bug out was because I refused to do something, which has to do with the free.
Yeah, I got you.
Well, anyway, so I was literally standing on top of the cabin. I was trying to put trusses in, and I suck at putting trusses in. And I looked at my wife and I said, I want to burn this thing down. I hate it. I hate this thing. And I said, let's buy a property. There's a property down here. Let's buy it. Well, we ended up buying the property we're at now. And it started forming the community, because our group, there was a core portion of our group that was local here. They all lived here. And everybody else was from an hour, 2 hours away. And so we moved in here. And as things evolved, the need to have that mag and all the rules disappeared, because we were building a community.
Yeah.
All like-minded. We were all voluntarily becoming part of the community and submitting to the norms of the community. And it got to the point where, we've got the sovereignty, and this is where the sovereignty comes in. A lot of mags, if you decide you don't like it and you walk away, you're walking away and leaving a whole bunch of stuff there, because they've got that whole communal thing going. And what happens, say you're in a position like what Tag was in. He's the property owner, and we all get there, and he gets sideways with everybody. What happens to the mag at that point? Once the balloon has gone up and you're in there, you lose a huge amount of sovereignty. You lose the ability to basically flipping the bird and walk away for a little bit until you cool down. So those are the two things. And like I said, I use the word wrong, and that doesn't mean bad, because I stumbled across in my old computer files a PDF that Charlie Hogwood had made about
Hmm.
forming a mag, and I was reading it, and it's what we were going to use to form our mag.
Yeah.
And I was going through it, and I was like, God, this is really good. This is really good information. There's a lot of people out there looking for this type of information. I actually contacted him,
Yeah.
and for anybody that doesn't know who Charlie Hogwood is, he's one of the guys. He's a longtime prepper author, and he's one of the guys that founded PrepperNet. He was one of the original people involved with PrepperNet, and
Gotcha.
he very generously was like, "Hey, yeah, go ahead and use it. Just give proper attribution and do it." So I'm actually gonna do a video on traditional mags and a video series actually, because you can't do it in one thing. But the building the community is so important in that respect versus the traditional mag structure, because it gives you voluntary governorship and it gives you uh, that sovereignty. And another thing that mags do that, and I didn't realize this until recently either. Um, you know, I enjoy reading military manuals, and
Hmm.
I stumbled across a manual about irregular warfare put out by U.S. SOCOM. And one of the things that SOCOM looks at before they decide to either go after an insurgency or support an insurgency is they look at two things. Well, they look at several things, but two of the ones that stuck out in my mind were community and economies.
Hmm.
So do you have a community, and do you have an alternative economy to whatever power structures in place? Mags can't do that. A mag on its own cannot affect those type of things. And what a lot of people do, and you can get out online and get on YouTube channels and verify this yourself. The first thing that people talk about as soon as something happens and they want to bug out and get safe is they shut themselves off from the rest of the world. They want to get past that initial point where all the craziness is happening, and they want to ride that out and then come out and do whatever they're going to do. If you think about it, by shutting yourself off, you are removing the ability to shape the environment that you live in.
Hmm.
Being in a community and having a community structure versus a mag structure, you've got the ability to influence the surrounding community and the social structure. In fact, we've actually got people moving into this area solely
Hmm.
because of the what we talk about, the freedom aspect and the building community. We've had 4 families move in here. We've
Wow.
got 2 people that are like-minded that are involved in county politics. Uh, we're on track to have another 6 families move in to the county that we live in within the next 6 to 8 months. So
Wow.
we're trying to build a community here, which is in itself, by definition, a mag. It's not your traditional mag structure.
Yeah, I got you.
Now here's a question that people are going to ask, because I've been asked this before. Well, how does building a community work with existing mags? As an example, and this is just my experience, it may be different for everybody, so just take this for what it's worth. We've got a neighbor who's part of a group, and they were really heavy into the pew pew and tactical stuff. They've
Hmm.
got a retired Marine that's teaching them how to do all this stuff. And I've gone over a couple of times and trained with them using airsoft and stuff, because not gonna lie, I love CQB. That
Hmm.
is so much fun. Um, and I would do that. I would pay to do that, be trained at it just for giggles, So I got a chance to go over there and shake off some cobwebs. But we started talking, and they were solely focused on the security aspect and the tactical aspect and everything. And until they started talking to us and started talking about the homesteading aspect of everything, they all grew up with families that can. They all grew up as farmers. They had all walked away from it. As adults, they're a little bit younger than I am, but as adults, they had all walked away from it, and they had not thought about it at all.
Hmm.
So they are incorporating some of the stuff that we do as homesteaders and as a community into their group activities. And I'm telling you, LP, these guys are rocking it. Seriously, I am so impressed with how far they come, because Angela, there's a video on our channel. She went over to help them process. I think they did 150 birds one day, and it was awesome. And they're all canning and they're all gardening and doing all this other stuff. And it's fantastic. So yes, a traditional mag structure, because they've got all the rules, they've got everything set up, works perfectly fine with the community structure of mutual assistance.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that I hope that covers. If you got any questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah, that brings up a lot of different things, because if you just kind of step back from it, basically what you end up with is this mentality of, the traditional mag is going to be more like, hey, we have a compound and let's do security patrols, and then everybody's got their job inside. But whereas with the community, you basically you maintain your sovereignty, and then anything that you want to do or need help with, then it's mutually agreed upon. I think that both concepts work, but I think it's very situational too.
Mhm. Yeah,
Where you
absolutely.
are, the situation works perfectly. And it is good to see that, these people that kind of they lean heavily towards the militaristic or pew pew, as you called it, um, that they are missing out, because the western form of prepping only lasts as long as your supplies last.
Mhm.
And your supplies only last as long as you have the ability to secure your supplies. Whereas with the community, I could easily see, if you really put your tinfoil hat on and say some group came through and just decided to burn everything you own down, next thing you know, you've got a whole community of people that could come together to either rebuild, restock, remaintain, whatever. So I think that the community idea is much stronger. On the leadership side, my views are, in the beginning, like, I would say that you guys started off really smart. You sat down and you figured out that the typical mag organization is not going to work for you guys, because you guys started off at a much higher level. And then, unfortunately, people also kind of think of a mag as more of a, almost like a doomsday type thing,
Mhm.
where it's, we've got to protect ourselves from, I know one channel that says everybody else who's not a prepper is a zombie, you know, I see that, and the guy's got tremendous following, but it's like, okay, thank you for your sensationalism, but they're still just people, and they may need a little bit of help. Um, I also think too, with the whole community idea, is that you're less apt to have to turn people away.
Mhm.
We always think about that. Well, I think a real prepper does think about that from time to time. But I think just because of the way your structure is, you'd be less apt to turn people away versus the whole general mag. Do you have a skill? Can you be trusted? It's very locked in. And you know, and then there's downfalls of the idea too, because it's like,
Right.
good people that let it only takes one bad egg, and you get enough people to get together that say, hey, everybody deserves a second chance, and this guy's bad to the bone, or down to his core, then he's eventually, something's going to go wrong. His tenure there will not last very long, and hopefully he doesn't do very much damage while he's there. So, but that could happen in a regular mag too. So
Right.
I think that the way you're going about it is a lot smarter. Is a lot smarter.
Well,
Man,
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. It happened by accident. This was
yeah,
not planned, and it wasn't anything that was structured. It just kind of happened and grew organically. And I think that's the reason why it's working, because it wasn't planned. Now, and
yeah,
you're absolutely right. You are 100% correct. There are drawbacks to the way we're set up. As an example, I've talked about this on our channel before, so I'm not giving away anything. So so because where everybody lives, we're kind of like on the outside edge of our circle, our tribe or clan or whatever you want to call it, right?
uh-huh.
So we are kind of out there by our lonesome, kind of an island on our own.
Hmm.
And should something happen, should it go back to like frontier times and there's raiders out there that, the Indians are burning down homesteads, we're kind of on our own for a little bit,
Hmm.
quite honestly. And if we've talked about it, and if something bad happens, everybody that lives in the areas, their family's going to come. So we'll have our families, just like in the old days. Our families will be here on the property with us. But here's where the community aspect of it comes in. I've got these guys down the road that are the other mag. Yeah, I can hit him with a 2 meter with a bow fang. I can hit him up. If we set up communications, I can hit him up, and he can be here in less than a minute. And
Hmm.
he lives a good mile away from us. So it's the security wise, you do not have the security of a secured camp compound.
Yeah.
You have to deal with that. And the other thing is, if as people move in, you cannot control who's moving into the community, right? And
Yeah.
you cannot control the existing community. But like somebody very wise told me, he said, would you rather have a known unknown, meaning a like-minded person, somebody who's thinking the same way you are moving into your neighborhood, or would you rather have somebody an unknown unknown, somebody that you don't know moving into your neighborhood?
Hmm.
And personally, I'd rather have those like-minded people in, because I don't have to like them, they don't have to like me, but as long as we've got the idea of community and everybody working together in mind, I can deal with somebody, because at the end of the day, I can go home. I don't have to be with them 24/7.
Yeah, exactly. He's strong, but he's really hard to be around.
Yep.
Yeah, those kind of people. I got you. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So let's just roll right into building community.
Mhm.
We've talked about the idea, how it came up. How is it you guys are like building community? Are you like recruiting? Do you have an ad in the paper? Is this, word mouth to mouth, that kind of thing?
So the whole reason that we started our YouTube channel, and several other people in our community started their YouTube channels right around the same time we did, to promote the idea of homesteading and modern self-sufficiency in community. And when we started out, we talked mostly about homesteading. We tried to make it strictly homesteading. I didn't talk about politics, or I tried not to talk about politics. As time went on, the change that happened and us moving out here, I came to realize community was really important. So the big way we're doing it is through our YouTube channels.
Hmm.
Um, Tag over on Life Done Free does a video series. Anytime property comes up, he talks about it and
Hmm.
he promotes it on the channel.
Yeah, he's got that
We
realtor guy. Yeah.
Yeah, Phil. And Phil is awesome. If anybody wants to think about moving into this area and they're like-minded, shoot me an email. It's on our YouTube channel page, or our about page, and I can put you in touch with Phil, and he'll do what he can to help you. But anyway, he does that, and we talk about community, and we make it a point to go to all these festivals. We started going. We've been to Self-Reliance Festival a couple times. We're going to be there in October. Other people go to other festivals, and we're trying to do this as a group, and just try to get the idea out there that man, you gotta build a community, because I can tell you what, 2022 was probably the worst year of my life.
Mm.
Seriously, there was so much bad stuff happened. It sucked, and I was really questioning what was going on. And had it not been for the community, I probably would have walked away from it. I probably would have. I seriously, that's how bad it was. But they came, and they helped us, and they still help us. We had a predator attack a month and a half ago, and within 6 or 7 hours of the first attack, we had almost 200 eggs and incubators at our house, because everybody in the community chipped in and helped us. You know, I would say, if anybody wants it, and this is with mags too. This is not just community. This is just anytime you want to start a group. The hardest thing to do with starting to build a group is that initial conversation. So you have to get outside your box. You have to, and a lot of preppers are like this. They don't like exposing themselves. In fact, that's one of the reasons why we are in Northeast Kansas, because in Missouri, I lived in a small town, and we'd been there 17 years, and I was still an outsider. It was one of those type of places. I mean,
Hmm.
you live in a small town, you know how it is.
Yeah.
And the guy that I hung around with, he's retired Army, super great guy, knew everybody. He did not want to expose himself. And I was like, dude, you have to, everybody, you need to set these things up, because I don't know everybody, because I didn't want to start the conversation. Well, things happened, and I did not have a support structure there. We have a support structure here. We moved here and started this community. So you have to step outside your box, and you have to be willing to take some risks and start a conversation. Now, easier said than done, because most preppers are basically introverts.
Hmm.
That's one thing. They're alpha personalities, but they're basically introverts. So you have to expose yourself. Easiest way to do it. And I swear to God, this is going to sound so stupid. Have a potluck. Seriously.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Find two people that you know. Pick a neutral location. Find two people you know and invite them. And tell them, invite two people that are like-minded that you know, and invite them. And maybe you go 3 deep, just depending on how big the circle is. But and you get everybody there, and and you don't talk about. You just introduce yourself and you just talk, and you create an email list of the people that were there, and you create a list of who offers what. Is somebody a plumber, somebody an electrician, is there a doctor, whatever.
Hmm.
And you say, okay, well, we're gonna make a concerted effort to use people inside this little group versus going out and finding people outside the community. And what that does is it builds a rapport. And we try to hold one of these things every quarter. The
Hmm.
very first one we had was actually a year ago. And somebody outside our group actually came up with the idea, and we had it at their place, which uh, is anathema to preppers. I'm not inviting nobody I don't know is
Yeah.
coming to my place. It's anathema. But they were very gracious. They had beautiful property, man. Cattle farmers, beautiful house, great people. We had people from 5 different counties, and that very first potluck, uh, gosh, there had to be 80 people there, and it was
Hmm.
awesome. And we didn't talk politics. We didn't talk prepping. We did talk a lot of homesteading though,
Hmm.
because that was the group. And then after that, we started having it. We have it at one of the local churches in Northeast Kansas. Terms local means 25, 30 miles.
Yeah.
You know, so so we have that. So that's anybody that's looking to build community, got to have that conversation first, and you got to be willing to open yourself up, and having a potluck or something like that in a neutral location is a great way to start the conversation.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Okay, so what everybody wants to know about, one of the things that we talked about was your $1.2 million free man morale patch.
Okay.
Tell us about this.
Okay. So as I said, spent time in the Marine Corps, got out, started working for the DoD, had just finished purchasing back uh, my active duty time, and I was on track to retire at 62 with a full pension. 7.5 years, I could have done it standing on my head. I was supporting uniformed service members for the Missouri National Guard, which was an awesome gig because I had a lot of autonomy and I was in a culture that I understood. Even being 25, 30 years removed from the military, I still do not understand corporate America culture. To me, it just doesn't make any sense.
It's very true.
Anyway, so they came down with the shot mandate. And at the time, it was, you will take it.
Hmm.
Well, I had some major issues with it. And before anybody goes call me an anti-vaxxer, I am not an anti-vaxxer, because I guarantee you, with the amount of times I deployed and working at a major level 1 trauma center in a major metropolitan area in the Midwest, I've had more vaccines than any 2 people combined that haven't been in the military or on missionary work.
Yeah.
So I'm not anti-vaxxer. What I am is anti-experimental shots. Okay. And I
Hmm.
hope that doesn't get you in trouble with the
We'll
powers.
find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. So anyway, I came home and I told Angela about it, and I said, I can't do it. I can't do it. And so she said, okay, we'll deal with this. So I was, fast forward, I'm working on the cabin up at Life Dumfries place. I wanted to burn that thing down. God, I hated that thing. I had 2 heart attacks from the time I started building it to the time I made this decision. And it was not going as fast as it should have gone, and stuff was getting ruined. I suck at putting up trusses. If my life ever depends on it, I'm in so much trouble. But anyway, we decided what we were going to do was buy this property. I was still going to be able to work for the DoD, and it was going to give us some time, some leeway, because there was going to be another 12 months before that started coming down, and they started really pushing that stuff.
Yeah.
Circumstances happened that they were like, no, you're going to have to do it now. And they were starting to do some really stupid stuff. And it wasn't the Missouri National Guard. It was the federal government itself. Some
Yeah.
stuff that was being pushed down by National Guard Bureau and some of that stuff. And so we sold a $500,000 piece of property. We'd been homesteading on this place for almost 8 years, and had taken it and increased its value by about 3 times. It's a beautiful property. God, it was so hard to walk away from it. And we moved a working homestead from Missouri to Northeast Kansas in 45 days.
Wow.
And we had Tag and B at Lifetime Free. We're fostering our chickens. Darren and Patty from Hacks for the Homesteader were fostering our goats and our sheep. This house that we bought is a wreck. It's still a wreck. Even after a year and me pouring thousands of dollars of money and all kinds of time into it, it's still a wreck. The property still has so much work that needs to be done, but we bought it for cash.
Yeah.
We paid off all our debt. We had 0 debt. Now, I'm not going to lie, full disclosure, we are starting a business. And so we are running a small line of credit, not very much, like less than $1,000. So we're not technically out of debt, but I could pay it off instantly if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But we are out of debt. We are free. And by happen chance, I literally found a job that's 5 miles away from where I live as an IT guy in Northeast Kansas, out in the middle of nowhere, which is providential. Seriously.
Yeah.
If I had not believed in God before that, I would definitely believe in God after it, because there's no way. Because the day after we put our house up for sale, the rec for the job came up, and I interviewed for it 2 days later and had the job within a week of us putting our house up for sale. And they were gracious enough to let me extend my start date out a little bit so that it coincided with closing on the house and everything. But anyway, so we were sitting around after we closed the house, and I was talking with Tag from Lifetime Free. And he goes, "How you feel, man?" And I looked at him and I said, "I feel free, man." And he looks at me, he goes, "Free, man. I like that." Didn't think anything about it. And a couple of days, well, actually it's about a week, he gives me, where is it? This hat right here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a trucker hat, and it says "Free Man" on it. And aside from the one that him and B have, that is the first Free Man hat that was given out to somebody that was debt free and truly living the American dream of being free.
It's awesome.
So that's how the Free Man came about. Now, the $1.2 million, I got bored one day, and I sat down and I started figuring out how much money we had walked away from by making this choice. So we took a 60% pay cut. My wife was a very successful real estate agent. And there were a couple years, as a GS-12, she was making more money than I was.
Mm-hmm.
So she was extremely successful.
Yeah. That's actually saying something.
Yep. We walked away 60% pay cut to move here. I walked away from my 401k with the government, which is the Federal Employment Savings Plan, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
The government version. And it's a very, very nice retirement policy.
Yeah.
Plan. Walked away from my retirement, and I figured out my average age. On average, I'm going to die when I'm 72. So I added it all up, and a low-end conservative estimate of how much money we walked away from by deciding to say no and becoming debt-free and releasing ourselves from the system was $1.2 million.
Wow.
So that's why I call this my $1.2 million Free Man patch.
Yeah.
And the reason why I've got the patch and I don't wear that or wear the hat is because I don't want to ruin the hat. As you can see, I'm kind of hard on.
Yeah, I have the same problem.
Yeah, and plus it's a trucker hat, and I don't like wearing trucker hats.
You don't like trucker hats.
I don't. It's one of my even though it's a trucker hat, it's one of my most prized possessions because
I can imagine.
It was given to me by a very good friend, and the meaning behind it is very deep. And if you see anybody that's wearing an official Lifetime Free Man hat or T-shirt or sweatshirt, it's because they're debt free, and they've reached the point where they have disengaged themselves from the system to the point where it holds very little sway over them. I've still got a job. I've got a 9-to-5 job I go to. It's the very first job I had since I was in the Marine Corps that I wanted to have. I don't have it because I need it. I have
Yeah.
it because I want it. And the reason why I want it is because it offers a couple of things that we cannot give ourselves right now. We
Mm-hmm.
don't need them. We don't need them, but it gives us some leeway. Number one, it gives me a steady paycheck. And number two, health insurance.
Yeah.
Uh, for the time being, health insurance is important to me. I'm getting better and better, and eventually I'm going to be off all the pharmaceutical drugs that the doctors say I have to have because of my heart problems.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually I'll be off of it, and I won't need health insurance.
Gotcha.
You know? So that's the story of the $1.2 million ad. And if there's any takeaway, I can give anybody about from my story is number one, being free is extremely scary. And it's scary because very few people grow up living truly free. And we don't, until you're free, you don't realize how much under the thumb of the system or whatever you want to call it, you actually are. And number two, you can do it. Everybody out there, anybody that's watching this video and anybody that they know, all you have to do is sit down and make the decision and do it. We were extremely lucky that we had been moving down that path for many years. And when the opportunity came, we were able to do it. And I really empathize. I empathize with the people that were forced to partake in something they didn't want to take in because it was the best of the worst solutions that they had.
Yeah.
I do not hold it against anybody that made that decision, as long as you were making that decision for the proper reasons, because you were looking out for the welfare of your family and you had no other choice. Now, the people that made that decision because they wanted to go on vacation or because of whatever, anything beyond taking care of your family. I got a very good friend who took the shot because he was legitimately concerned about his mother because she had some health issues. And everything that he was reading, and I disagree with him on this bit, but I respect his decision. He sacrificed for his mother.
Yeah.
I completely respect him for doing that. And I respect anybody that does that.
Yeah.
But if you did it just so life could go back to normal, which is what they told us, man, I really question. And that goes into the whole conversation you want that, making hard decisions.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Okay.
so there it is. I hope that explains it.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. And it's, I think we covered everything, as well as had a great conversation about things that preppers don't really think about, um, I hope you had a good time and, you're definitely have an open invitation to be back anytime you'd like,
Well, thank you, sir.
um, with that said, I think this is going to be the end of it. Yeah, tell the viewers again where they can find you. And so they'll do that.
Grumpy Acres Farm YouTube channel, and we've got grumpyacresfarm.com, which is our store. We're on Instagram, but quite honestly, I don't post much there. And there's some stuff on Facebook, but again, I'm not a big fan of Facebook, so we don't do a lot there. But YouTube, Rumble, Liberty Tree Fellowship is where you'll find my stuff. The Liberty Tree Fellowship stuff is stuff that I don't want to talk about on YouTube because I do not want to get sideways with people or with the powers that be. I quite honestly, I do not understand the whole idea of walking away from YouTube because it is still the best platform to get your message out on. And you can get your message out there without getting sideways of YouTube. Eventually we will. There's no doubt in my mind that eventually YouTube will come down on channels like yours, channel like mine, channel like Hacks for the Homesteader, Life Done Free, Spags Unfiltered.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, the powers that be are going to crack down on us because the message that we're putting out there contradicts everything that they try to do to keep people plugged into the system.
Yeah.
Right.
I think I need to get Spags on here too, just because he's funny to talk to,
Definitely.
and also we're going to do a quick promo on the what is it? The 14th? We're going to do our live. And what was the name of that game again?
It's Conflicted, the survival card game, and
Nice.
it's a card game where they offer moral and ethical questions, and people just give their answers. There's actually rules, but we don't follow the rules. It's just a free form.
Read the
And
card and everybody judges. Is that what it is?
well, the official rules, our rules is you just saying people make fun of you. If
Gotcha.
your answer's
Gotcha.
stupid, they make fun of you.
Yeah.
You know,
And of course, the answer cannot always be what? Do you remember?
shoot him in the face.
Shoot him in the face.
Okay, here's I'm going to give you a little preview of what's going to happen when we get on there and start talking about it. I'm not going to I'm not that's not going to be one of the rules, because I know 100% as soon as I do that rule, there's a couple guys on there that are going to instantly start doing that every single card just to get
Yep.
under my skin. Yeah. And it's June 14th. That's the tentative date right now. We've got 3 of the 4 panel members. It's LP, Spags Unfiltered, Tag from Life Done Free, and then I'm trying to talk. I've Porterhouse and Teal. Porterhouse and Teal has agreed to come on, and so I'm just waiting for him to confirm the date with me. So right now it looks like the 14th, and quite frankly, it's my prepper dream team is going to be on there. These guys, the 4 members on the panel, are people that I really respect their views on the issue, and I think that they will show a different aspect of it all than what people have seen in the ones we've done before. So
right.
everybody put it on your calendars. I'll make sure I get it out there beforehand, and I hope to see everybody there.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you being on, and to the viewers, as usual, stay safe. Have a great day, and I'll see you when I see you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Good luck and free.
Yeah, there you go.